DivaDance really gave me the confidence and empowerment to do so many things that I never thought I would do as an adult. Just having the space to just build your confidence, you are going to want to be a part of it.
This is a happy place for me, and I'm back in a happy place.
Hello, friends. I'm Jami Stigliano, the founder and CEO of DivaDance, and welcome back to another episode of Community Time. Community Time is the DivaDance podcast where we talk to folks from within our community about not just who they are within the dance studio, but who they are outside of the studio as well. And I'm going to call y'all like DivaDance Hall of Fame right now. This is Hall of Fame. I have been waiting for this episode because people have seen y'all on social media. They've seen you in their classes, and now you've both become franchise owners. So I'm going to allow you both to drop your own credentials and introduce yourself. Shannon, let's start with you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon Davies. I am one of the co-owners of DivaDance Northern Virginia, which just launched in July of 2024. And I am also the assistant manager of DivaDance Washington, D.C., where I've been dancing for 5 years now, which is kind of crazy. And I've had every role you can have, starting from a client who joined on day one, all the way up now to a franchise owner. And yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
Well, and very quickly, you're being a little bit modest, which I love about you, but you have won some really beautiful awards within our community. Drop a few of those credits. Drop a few of the trophies you have on the shelf.
Yeah. So in 2023 at Slaycation, I won Local Leader of the Year award, which was a huge honor. And DC has also won a lot of accolades, being a great, fantastic team. One I'm personally really proud of is Social Media of the Year, which we won last year. If you have been a longtime follower of DC's socials, they were non-existent after Slaycation 2023, when I saw that award go out, and I said, yeah, no, that was not for us. And I worked really hard the whole year, and with the input of the community helping make content, we got Social Media of the Year last year. So that was a big deal for me.
DC socials and Nova socials, you just have to follow. So even if you never are going to be able to go take a class in those communities, they got to follow your socials. They're so good. All right, Emily, drop your credentials. You are also a Hall of Famer. Let's hear it.
I don't know how I can follow up after Shannon, but I'm Emily Bujnowski. I am the owner of DivaDance Jersey City, Hoboken, and I danced with DivaDance New York City for probably also 4 or 5 years. I think me and Shannon actually started at very similar times. But unlike Shannon, who kind of took the normal route of like, oh, I'm going to be a CE, I'm going to be a host, and then I was just like, let's do this. And I opened Jersey City Hoboken in November of 2023. So we just hit a year a couple months ago, and it's been really awesome. It's been going really well.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for everyone to hear from both of y'all, and I have just grown to just adore you both, so thank you for being on. Let's get started, as always, with a community question. Obviously, self-care is something that we all take seriously around here, but it does look different to everybody. So, Emily, what is your like self-care? What does self-care look like to you? That is our community question.
Totally. Like you said, self-care is different for everyone. And actually, for me, it's different day to day. It's really about listening to myself and what my body needs. And if what my body needs is a run in the park, it's going to have a run in the park. If what my body needs is a Big Mac and a 2-hour nap, it's going to have a Big Mac and a 2-hour nap. One thing is I get my nails done. That's like a self-care thing for me. Every 3rd week, I'm getting my nails done. So it's really just about listening to what my body and mind needs at that moment and giving that space.
I love that. And Shannon, before we go to you, I'll share that I totally relate to that because mine is getting my car washed, but not because I want my car to be clean. It's that like 2 minutes where I'm like at peace in the drive-through of the car wash that I don't have to do anything. And I can even do it with my daughters in the car with me. So that's just like my little, like, if I need a mama needs a moment, whatever, my little like 2 minutes in the car wash. There's something about it. So, okay, Shannon, how about you?
Mine is a little untraditional, I guess. Dance used to be my self-care outlet, but now I've kind of turned that hobby into a business. So my self-care is I actually love to play hockey. I am a ball hockey player, and so that's my self-care. I really carve out that time on Tuesdays. Everyone knows I can't host. I'm not going to be available during class because I'm going to be throwing it down on the hockey court.
Okay, we're gonna need some footage of this too. I feel like I haven't seen enough social of your the hockey side of you. So, okay, well, we're gonna stay with you, Shannon. You both have very big girl day jobs as well. So, which I'm always. By the way, one thing I love about our community is the variety of day jobs that people have, and just the talent and experience and incredible things that people do by day before they come to our studio. So, Shannon, tell the listeners what you do for a living.
Yes, I am a sign language interpreter with the federal government. I've been doing that now for about 7 years. So I interpret for our employees all the way up to agency directors, administrators, secretaries of state. You might see me interpreting for. So yeah, I travel a little bit too, and I really love interpreting.
I love those interpreting videos where they're interpreting like Megan Thee Stallion lyrics. So have you gotten to do anything like wild like that where you've gotten to kind of also dance while you're doing it?
Music is not my strong suit interpreting wise. There's a lot of nuance and the cut and dry nature of government is where I fit in a little bit better interpreting wise. So I have not been able to combine the two, but I have interpreted a few DivaDance classes and we've had deaf people come through our classes before.
Ooh, I love that. Okay. So Emily, over to you. You also have a big girl job. Tell us.
Yes. Yeah, I am a structural engineer working in the construction engineering industry in New York City. So day to day, I'm spending a lot of time doing design drawings, making sure that all the construction sites that you see up all around the city are safe and nothing's going to blow over and the 90 mile per hour winds that's come by. If you follow my personal Instagram, you might see pictures of me up on top of buildings and climbing up on cranes, and it's really funny because I spend my day surrounded mostly by men in hard hats and work boots, and then I turn around, I pivot step right into the dance studio where I'm surrounded mostly by women and glitter and lipstick. So I kind of really got the best of both worlds, which is kind of fun for me.
I've been thinking about you lately because my daughter's very into magnetiles, and so we've been
Wow.
building like all the structures.
I'm
Are you?
into magnetiles.
They're so
I'm 30 and
fun.
I'm into magnetiles.
They're so fun, but I know that I could never be an engineer. So I know that I'm going to stick with being the founder and CEO of DivaDance. But thank you both so much for being on. This is a really special episode because, as you both know, and everyone listening, this season of Community Time is presented by a brand called Hers. So what I'm about to say is not an ad. It's really just information for our listeners to kind of set the stage for my first question for you both. Hers has a lot of great resources for folks, right? So sexual health, skincare, mental health, and for folks interested, they have a weight loss medication, which I have been taking to help me holistically. But sometimes some people are not sure why we did this, and kind of even talking about this topic creates a little bit of head tilt for some people. So Shannon, you and I have had some really great conversations about this. What do you think about this topic, and why should we even be talking about this openly?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first saw Jamie's Founding Friday email that came out talking about her weight loss journey, I certainly was one of those people that had a strong reaction to that. Diva Dance has been a safe space for me as a plus size individual, and seeing that now weight loss has entered the conversation, especially coupled with like a fitness venue, definitely brought me back to some experiences we've all had growing up of, fitness as a punishment for what you're eating or, a way to counteract and a negative thing. And Diva Dance for me has been such a joyous, positive experience where I've been able to decouple that and just find joy in the movement. So now to see a weight loss journey being mentioned alongside that definitely gave me some feelings in that moment.
Yeah, and I know what I love about you and I talking about that is, first of all, I just think that's so indicative of the kind of community we've created. Of we don't have any like weird like talking behind someone's back or what. It's like, hey, let's talk about this topic. And I think that what I hope to accomplish from this episode of this podcast is that we bring to light this conversation around our bodies and inclusivity and really personalizing it to what each person needs. And Emily, I know this is a topic you're very passionate about. We invited you to present something kind of similar about what we're going to talk about today at Slaycation. Talk about what were some of the conversations you heard amongst the folks who came and attended your session?
Yeah, definitely. So at my session, we were really talking about self-image, and I always try to encourage people to kind of take a step back and really, instead of micromanaging the way you're looking at yourself, looking at things from a bigger picture. And it goes right into the weight loss, weight management, body image sphere. I, like Shannon, am also a plus size individual, and growing up in dance studios, that wasn't okay, you know. And even when it was okay, it wasn't okay, you know. There things were said in ways that made it very clear that, like, your body wasn't welcome. And I spent a lot of time deconstructing a lot of those lessons. And it's something that I really love talking about and want to talk about, to open up the conversation for other people. So the fact that I got to present at Slaycation, and some people have never talked about these things. I had someone in that room who was made very uncomfortable by the fact that I kept using the word fat to describe myself. And I think having those conversations where you can talk to someone and tell them, no, it's okay to have these conversations. It's okay to say these words. It just leads to education. It leads to more acceptance, and it can open the door for someone who might be struggling to kind of take a step back and look at something differently, and maybe at the end of the day feel a little bit better about themselves in the way I wish I could have years ago.
Oh man, one thing you said at the beginning, well, first of all, I heard that I was in your program for a little bit, that people just, it really resonated. And the fact that that room was full, like every chair was full, this showed me that this was a conversation we need to continue to have in our community. So one thing, this is actually a story I don't think I've ever told anybody. I've definitely never told y'all this story. So when I graduated from high school, I went to work for a dance team company that basically does camps and competitions and stuff like that. It was the company that I had been with, going to their events since I was in dance team in high school. And I had like tried out to be one of their main, one of their instructors and like part of their staff, and I got it. At my very first thing I had to do, first of all, I've always been known to be fat or overweight or all the words that have been used to describe me my literal entire life. And so I felt like it was like, this is my body, this is who I am. But I was also a really good fucking dancer. Like, it was like, I was a really good dancer. And by the way, you can be fat and be a good dancer. I'm just saying. But, and so I remember, so I made the staff, but at our very first camp, they issued us our like uniforms, and they were crop tops, which I would never, in my mind, I was like, I'm not allowed to wear this. I cannot, but I had to. And I've never actually told anybody this story, but I just remember being put like in the back. And like, I remember like the lady who was organizing all of us kind of like whispering. And I just remember, I just had this vivid feeling. I never thought of myself as like not deserving of being front and center, but because I didn't look good in the crop top, I was put in the back. And that has sat with me clearly for like 30 years. And I've never told anybody that story, but it's been in my mind since then. So, what I always have hoped to create with DivaDance is a place where like nobody feels that way. And that's why I'm really glad we're having this conversation, because I want to make sure people know that this will always be a place where like everybody is truly welcome. So, Shannon,
It's
in
so
our
funny.
conversation, go ahead,
It's so
Emily. Yeah.
funny you said that though too, because at Slaycation, one of my talking points, I brought the very first crop top I ever bought myself with me on that stage and showed it to everyone, because I had the same thing where I was like, that's not for me. But this crop top, I was like, that's really cute. I'm gonna try it, and I liked the way it felt on me, so I wore it. And when my mother tried to pull the shirt down, I was like, no, Mom, it's a crop top. Like, it's fine. This is how it's meant to look. And it just shows you though that these things transcend so many different people in so many different spaces. So it was just so funny that was your story.
I have a similar story as well with that, like with bathing suits. I was a lifeguard growing up my whole life, and all the other lifeguards wore the tankini 2-piece swimsuit, and I had always just worn the one piece. Back then there wasn't even tankinis or bikinis in any sizes above a large. So when I have a very vivid memory of the same thing, wearing my first bikini, and yeah, it's life-changing to undo all that work that, has been kind of pressed upon you, all these ideas and everything. And then to be like, no, this is comfortable. I don't know if you ever tried to put on a one piece in the middle of the summer when you're already hot. It's hard. So having a two-piece is just logistically easier. And, to feel like I didn't have access to that for this whole time was annoying.
At the beginning of this year, I made the declaration to start running my health like a business. This meant knowing my numbers, being more strategic, creating better systems, and setting and working towards even bigger goals. And most importantly, modeling the way for everyone around me. My goal is simple, to have as many healthy years ahead of me as possible, especially ones where I'm with my kids and where I'm teaching and taking as many DivaDance classes as I can. After a series of blood work and a recommendation from my provider, I've called in a little extra help with my specific health goals by partnering with Hers Weight Loss to make the journey a little more efficient. Are you maybe interested in doing the same, but need a little inspiration or motivation? See what I did there? Be sure to follow my journey on socials, and if you're ready to explore if this is right for you, head over to DivaDanceInspireandBuild.com for more info.
Two other anecdotes that are coming to mind as we talk about this. First of all, I feel so seen right now. Like, I just feel, I feel so seen. Because, you know, I have a lot of like thin friends who I'm always like, oh, you don't never have to worry about this thing. You know, there's like, I feel like they live a different life than, you know, a thicker woman. So two other quick stories. One is when I was in high school and wore my dance team uniform, we called them suckers. You know, now they're called Spanx, just universally. I wore like a girdle, if you will, underneath so that I was smoothed out, because I felt like people were not looking at me as a dancer. And by the way, I was captain of the drill team. I was a leader, and I was, you know, everything you know about me now, but just like 18-year-old version of that, a little scary. But, you know, but I felt like I had to do that so that I could present myself a certain way. And part of me is okay with it because it did help me feel more confident. Like, it's not like I put that on and I felt worse, but sometimes when it would become uncomfortable, or I was like, man, I really wish I didn't have to wear this thing, like I would feel sad, and I would feel embarrassed, and I would feel all the things. And then it even carried into college, you know, even with, you know, with my sorority, there was very much an environment of like, we need to be thin and we need to present ourselves with, you know, polish. And it was the message in, you know, the 80s and 90s and continuing on, was that you're not polished if you're a fat person or you're an overweight person. Like, you're not polished. So Shannon, what do you think about that? I mean, you mentioned having to undo some of that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I really think that's actually a great segue. You know, we've heard a lot about the body positivity movement that has kind of come forth combating those things. But one thing that has kind of found is body neutrality. Just being neutral about your body, because you are going to have days, like you said, where, you know, it makes you feel better to put on a certain thing, or other days when you're like, this is uncomfortable to me. And just finding that space to like accept your body and not kind of seeing your body as a before. Like, it doesn't have to be you are always working towards a different, like, this is not a temporary state for me. This is something that I have been my whole life. I've been a 3-season athlete, you know, growing up. I've always been into sports. Like, this is just the way that my body is, and kind of accepting that. And it's hard. It's hard work. I've put in a lot of work in it personally to try and unlearn all those things. But even just keeping in mind that body positivity can also be kind of toxic, being like,
Yeah.
oh, I love my body all the time. That's not the truth. That's not the truth. So just really being at a neutral spot, that your body has brought you this far, just accepting it the way it is and what it can do for you, and just coming to terms with it. And, you know, you don't have to feel one way or the other, and allowing yourself to feel neutral about it is also hard work.
I love that phrase, neutrality. I think that it's kind of, you know, I often think about this. I'm like, who fucking cares? Like, who cares? Like, Emily, why do people care? Why is this even a thing?
Oh gosh, do we have 3 hours? So I've spent a lot of time thinking about this stuff because that's what I do. I'm a thinker. I'm an insomniac. I lay in bed and I think about why the world is the way it is. But you know, our society has really villainized fat people, just plain and simple. You know, you watch the movies, who's the villain? The big fat guy in the suit. You know, the heroes are the skinny people with, you know, tall, skinny, lean, muscular. The villains are the fat people, or the butt of the joke is the fat person. And even as we've gone into this era of body positivity, like Shannon said, where you do see actors and actresses who are bigger or in larger bodies, a lot of the times they're still the side character, or they're the joke, or the entire plot of the movie is, oh, you can love her even though she is fat. No, she's a person.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it has a lot to do with the language we use. You know, we've villainized this image we've villainized the word fat. Like I said, there are people who are very uncomfortable hearing the word fat. I call myself fat all the time, and I have people go, "Oh, you're not fat, you're beautiful." Scratch that. I am fat, I am beautiful.
Right.
Right.
Two very true statements. And I think that we've been living in this society where those things have been perpetuated and have continued to be true to the point where they're so ingrained that we do it to ourselves. They're so pertinent and just weaved into the fabric of everything we do that it's really easy to tell yourself that you're bad because you look a certain way or you weigh something. And so it's really hard to combat it.
Yeah, it is everywhere. How many times I've been told from people, and I accept it as a compliment 1,000,000%, but new clients will come to class and they'll come up to my class and they'll come up to me afterwards and they'll be like, I was nervous to come, but then I saw that you were our instructor and I felt so much better. And like, there's been moments where I've been like, what the fuck does that mean? But for the most part, I'm like, yeah, I have like a normal body. I'm like not a thin person. I'm a strong person. I am very strong. By the way, this is data. I have data on my muscles. I am a strong person. I have a lot of muscle. But like, no, I'm not a thin person. No, I am not a skinny person. I will never be. I don't want to be. But it's so funny how people come in and how disarming it is when they're like, it's her teaching my class. Shannon, what do you think about that?
It's kind of funny because my first class that I took, I had a plus size instructor, and I joined right after that class. And it had such a positive impact on me. I understand what you're saying in the sense of it's almost like a backhanded compliment, like, oh, if you could do it, I could definitely do it. But in this case, for me, I had a little bit of a different experience. I was like, wow, I have, like I said a million times, I have done sports my whole life. I rarely have had a plus size instructor in any space, let alone dance. And to come in and see someone who is an extraordinary dancer gave me hope that I can also be like her. She can teach me. She's reached this, high level of skill set that she's leading this whole class, and I can do that too. And if I didn't have a plus size instructor that first class, maybe I probably would have joined, but like, would I have felt that immediate connection that day one close?
Yeah.
Who's to know? But that for me, like, really sparked my journey is that I saw that.
Well, and we're glad you did. So, Shannon, one of the things you and I spoke about, and you brought some into my attention, was I don't know if a movement or kind of just the philosophy about health at every size. And for those folks listening, if you're not familiar with this kind of concept or philosophy, they have a great website. We'll drop it in the show notes. So, Shannon, talk to us a little bit about that, kind of that way of thinking. And when you brought that to my attention, I was like, oh my God, I was not familiar with it. I loved it. I read up about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So health at every size is an approach for just emphasizing that healthcare is a human right for a person, regardless of their weight. So inclusive of the people at the largest end of the spectrum for everybody. And that healthcare should be compassionate and comprehensive, regardless of that person's BMI, regardless if that person wants to lose weight, regardless if that person wants to pursue health options. They should still have access to comprehensive and compassionate healthcare, and in all different aspects, whether that might be in, a primary care doctor or a therapist, a nutritionist, trying to find someone who is going to provide you with your health options and not demonize you or deny treatment just because of your BMI, which is also, by the way, a trash number.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, and one thing I did like about the kind of the philosophy is really talking about healthy habits. And, that is something that I've been really trying to work on. And I do not care if I will never be a thin person. I don't want to be, but I do need to be healthier. And that's just some of my personal data points. So, Emily, what do you think about that kind of philosophy with this movement of kind of like creating those healthy habits? How, what would you say to someone who's like wanting this kind of acceptance of how their body is, but like there are things we need to do to take care of our health that has nothing to do with weight that we
Yeah.
need to do for our own longevity?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that so many people love to boil weight down to food and exercise. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that's not a factor and that's not true. Like, I'll sit here and tell you my eating habits right now, you know, C minus at best. I'm working 2 jobs, doing the whole thing. It's something that I want to work on, and it's a habit that I need to work on. But I think there's other habits that we need to think about when it comes to our person, not just our size, but setting healthy boundaries
Mm.
with ourselves and with the people around us, to put yourself in a mental space where you can tackle these other things that are impacting your health, whether that be food and exercise, whether that be sleep. Getting good sleep is so important.
Yep.
But guess what? I'm not going to get good sleep if my mental health is on the decline. So the habits aren't just physical, they're mental. You know, good communication, building the habit of self advocacy. Shannon talked about health at every size. That isn't the standard right now. And part of my healthy habits is finding doctors and finding healthcare providers that understand the concept of health at every size and
Mm.
who aren't going to prescribe me weight loss
Yep.
For
for
an ear
everything that
infection.
for a sore throat, for anything you go into. The number of times I've been to a doctor for something unrelated and they say you should lose weight, I go, yeah, understood. Can I get some, antibiotics? That would be cool. Yeah.
Mm.
So I think that in addition to the quote unquote obvious healthy habits of your food, your exercise, your sleep, also building healthy habits surrounding your communication, your boundaries, advocating for yourself, and surrounding yourself with people who are there to support you in whatever journey you're taking, whether it be with your body, your overall health, your overall well-being.
I love what you just said because some of those factors play into stress, and stress has a major impact on everything we do. Your quality of sleep, the energy you bring to people you love. Stress is something I feel like back in the 80s and 90s, it was like when you thought of stress, you just pictured this like hunkered down person at a table with a stack of papers with just like squiggly lines around them. And it's like, no, stress is like, you know what my stress is sometimes when I'm like trying to take care of my daughters and like my dog is barking also. So it's like even just like stimulation, like multi-stimulation can create stress. So, and I don't think people fully understand some of the science parts of that. And so I think what you said is great. Shannon, what do you think about kind of the about really the health piece and like the healthy habits piece?
Yeah, first building off what you just said about stress, like it's also stressful being a fat person navigating a system that is fat phobic and has a lot of barriers for fat people. So, am I going to fit in that chair? Is the chair going to have arms that's a proper size? Can I go to the mall and buy clothes because I just have a video shoot that's tomorrow for a content video? No, I have to order that shit 3 weeks in advance because I can only order it online. So
Emily and I are both nodding. If it, like if it doesn't have elastic, I cannot purchase it. That is me. Like if it doesn't have an elastic waistline, not
Um,
happening.
and you're and speaking of stress, you're sitting here talking about getting clothes for a concept video, and I'm like, our shoot's on February 9th. I think I still have time. I should do that this weekend.
better do that express shipping because
Yeah,
what if you have to return it because
I
sizes
know. I
are a
know. Yeah, I'm
problem.
gonna get 3 options, because it's the only way.
Yeah. So also that stress of like existing in a world where systems are fat phobic, there's a lot of anti-fat bias, like we just talked about in the medical field. So like Emily said, like taking care of your health, like I specifically sought out a plus size fat therapist because that's a lot of my stressors and issues are as a plus size athlete. How are people going to perceive me? I'm perceived a lot as an interpreter who is on camera now, as a business owner who's filming content. And, I navigate this world too. And it's always comes up. And so to find a provider who is, health at every size aligned and who can help me through those things is really important because health does not equate weight. And also, people don't owe anyone health. That's up to you if you want to pursue it. Body autonomy is a huge priority. So, you have to balance all of that. And yeah, it's building those habits to protect yourself as well and build that confidence in whatever way it can be is really important, regardless of your size, but especially if you have these intersectional identities that experience so many barriers in the world.
I relate to this so much. And one thing I'll share with y'all too, and again, kind of vulnerably speaking, is I had created this narrative for many years that like within our brand, that even though I'm not a thin person, or basically because I wasn't a thin person. Let me rephrase that. Because I wasn't a thin person, I couldn't represent the brand as like a fitness company, because I had created this narrative that like how could I represent the company when I am not a thin person? And that is something I have worked through. And my confidence has never been an issue, but my confidence with like representing the brand as like a fitness company. And so for many years, I was like, we're not a fitness company. And part of it was me doing that as like almost a defense mechanism of like,
Mhm.
I know you see that I'm a little fat, so like we're not a fitness company, because I remember one time I actually did something in DC. I shot something for like a news program or something, and and like one of the trolls on the thing was like, maybe this lady needs her own program to get thin or something like that. And I've been called fat my whole life. It's usually people's go-to insult of me,
Oh, yeah.
and now I'm like, that's the best you got, okay. But I had created this narrative that I couldn't represent our company as a fitness company. And in the last 2 years, I have completely changed my feeling on that, because I truly believe that like we have fitness benefits. No matter what weight you want your body to be, the fitness benefits of what we do here are undeniable. And the importance of heart health is undeniable. I mean, you need your heart to work. It makes your whole body work. And so, but you need your brain to work. You need your brain to be healthy. Like there's so many things, and we contribute to all of that. And so I just want to say on the record that I have reconciled that and been like, you know what? I am because I do have a company that has fitness benefits. And for the first time this year, I'm representing our company in the fitness industry. I'm going to go to a fitness conference. And 2 years ago, I would have been like, oh, I can't do that. I'm too fat to go. They're going to be like, oh, what is this girl doing? And now I'm like, no, of course I'm going to go, because I did create something that has tremendous value for people's health and wellness and fitness holistically. So I don't think I've ever really like shared that so explicitly with our community, but I'm proud to do it because I want people to know that like my own journey in this is also very real. So yeah. So Emily, what do you think about that?
No, I absolutely love that. I think it's so indicative of kind of what I was saying before about language and the connections we create in our brain of fitness means this. Fitness means the super skinny model, the buff guy lifting weights. It That's not what it is. Fitness is, movement, it's taking care of your body. It's, we offer cardio classes for whoever walks through the door. It doesn't matter what size you are. You come into a DivaDance class, you're going to be moving. That's fitness, point blank, period.
Yeah. And
And
it doesn't matter what you need that to do for you. It doesn't
right.
matter what you need that to do. I currently am in a phase of my own life where I know I have to make some changes to reduce some of the chemical levels and things within my own body so that I can achieve greater longevity and some other parts of my health that I have to improve. I definitely am. I'm not in a place where I'm like, I need to be thin. Listen, if I was going to be a thin person, that would have happened my first time at Weight Watchers, 25 years ago, right? And by the
Wait,
way,
have we all done Weight Watchers? Is that a thing? Yeah.
did
Okay.
y'all do Weight Watchers when you had the little like booklet that you wrote your weight in? Okay, so I
Yep.
found mine recently. Okay, y'all are
Oh
gonna love it.
no.
I found mine recently. It was in like the little plastic sleeve, and it had like the numbers in it. And I opened it up, and so I weigh now like whatever, like 220 pounds, whatever, however much I weigh. I looked in the little thing, and it was like 162. And I looking back at that, I'm like, oh my god, I thought I was so big. I thought I was so fat. I thought I was so. And looking back now, I'm like, 162, that's a supermodel as far as
Yeah.
and so looking back on it, and so man, it's such a shame that we do that to ourselves, so
Mhm.
I hope anybody listening, like I'm certain other people are nodding because we've all kind of been there, but I do hope, and Shannon, you said about autonomy, and I really align with that, like do whatever you want. It's like, it's that's how I feel about like us partnering with hers, which I know some people um uh may have some different feelings about, which I'm okay with, because some people do want to lose weight. I need to lose weight currently right now, but it's, you know, it's for some other reasons. But like, also, like, do whatever you want. So I'm all about autonomy. That's the moral of my story. Do whatever you want. And one other thing about that health at every size that I was really one of their kind of their points of philosophy was about life enhancing movement. Shannon, can you speak to what they mean by life enhancing movement?
Yeah, absolutely. Just finding that movement that brings you joy. Like Emily said, coming into a class, and we've cultivated an environment where you can come into that class, and if you only feel you can do the warm up, like that's okay. We want you to obviously stay engaged in the whole class, but nobody's going to judge you if you need to take a break, if you have to sit out around while you catch your breath or anything. So it's just finding that joy. And if coming to class brings you joy because of the community, or because you can do, you know, the first half of class and that's what you can do, that's really the important part for me. As moving gives me joy in different ways, you know, contact sports, I get a lot of joy from that. And also feeling graceful and sexy and dancing also brings me joy. And for me, it's not about, okay, can I, you know, do soccer practice, football practice, all these, you know, whatever different practices and dance rehearsal, 12 hours of workouts in one day because I had a, I don't know, a bowl of pasta. And so decoupling that, like I said earlier, finding that joy, and it has enhanced my life. Going on my little hot girl walks around the little bike path that I live on, a 30-minute lunch break brings me joy because I can slam the laptop shut for 30 minutes. Playing hockey, you know, brings me joy because I get to run around and play a sport that I love and didn't have a chance to play as, you know, a girl growing up in New Jersey. And dance now has given me opportunity to find joy in community and also moving my body in a new way for me as an adult.
I think what I like about this point of the philosophy is that it's not like you need 30 minutes of exercise 4 times a week. It's no, it's life enhancing. So I really love that phrase. It's the first time I've ever really heard it summed up that way. It's like if the movement you choose to do makes your life better, keep doing it. Like I've started strength training a year ago because my husband for many years he did CrossFit, and you know he wants to be as healthy as he can for our children and all the things. And but for years he's been like, you would like CrossFit, you would like it, and I was always like, no, 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 I don't do that. I don't do that. And for whatever reason, a year ago, I was like, I do need to get stronger. I do want to get stronger. I don't care about being thin, but I do want to be strong. There's so many benefits to being strong and having healthy muscles and like being strong. And even just like the other day, I like kind of tripped and fell, and I was like, well, good thing my legs are sturdy. Good thing I was able to like rebound pretty quickly. But it's really about life enhancing. So I'm definitely finding the movement that is best for you and what your definition of enhancing means. And that's how I kind of interpreted that to be. So I absolutely just like love that you shared this. And again, we'll drop this in our show notes so folks can kind of study up on it. But just kind of to kind of summarize and how we bring all this back to our community, Emily, what is your feeling on how this conversation can benefit our community? And obviously, as we live our values of inspiring confidence and building community, how can we live those values day to day within DivaDance so that we continue to further our mission and make sure that everybody, regardless of not even just size, but just anything that they bring into the studio, really feels like it's in alignment with those values? We can show congruence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's actually really important that you did just say not just size, right? Because there's other limitations that people face all the time, whether it be arthritis. I have a friend who's my age, 30 years old, fibromyalgia, like real things that you don't know people walking into the studio what is going on in their body, and it's not your business to know, frankly. Um, so I think what we can do as owners, as CEOs, as even the people listening, just members of the community, is never taking that for granted, never making assumptions about the people around us and what they might be dealing with physically, mentally, emotionally, and just freaking dancing. Like that's what we're here to do at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? We're talking about movement that brings us joy. I mean, what I love about DivaDance is fitness always felt like a punishment to me. I hated it. It was boring. And it had nothing even to do with like the physical pain or whatever of it. I was like, this is boring. I hate this. Dance is not that. Dance is fun for me. And so just creating this fun environment, supporting the people around us in the choices they make. And then as a company, even when we partner with companies like hers, even when we talk about things like weight loss, like mental health, everything else, making those conversations accessible. Sorry. We want to make those conversations accessible to every person in the room. And whether the conversation is simple as, you know what, I'm thinking I would like to lose weight for X, Y, and Z reason. Great. Here's a conversation about that. Or, I'm not on a weight loss journey, but there's other benefits to doing this cardio thing we do every day. Let's talk about that. And making sure that the conversation is never geared toward one solution that is supposed to fit everyone. Because that's not what we're about. That's not how life works. And that's exactly why we just have to keep talking about it.
Oh, I love that. Man, you're so right. It's like that's just not how it works. You're so right. Shannon,
It's
what
just
do you
not.
think about that? What can we take into our community? And Emily made so many beautiful points. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, ditto. Whatever Emily said was so perfect. I would also like to add just accessibility to our facilities. I spend my day job, like I mentioned, as a sign language interpreter working with people with disabilities, and accessibility can mean so many different things. Whether, we love to do studio tours on our social medias, and that's great to get our name out there, but it's also great to show people, what does parking look like? Are they going to be able to park close or far? How many stairs are there? If there are stairs, if there's no other option, knowing, okay, I have to go up all these stairs, or just feeling confident in this space. Is there going to be water, bathrooms? That provides accessibility guide marks as well for what people, can expect when they're coming to our studios. And also just accessibility in the way that we teach all our instructors to offer modifications. And sure, it's modifications that, like, okay, I don't have my stallion knees, so I can't go down on the floor today. But also my body is different. So that move that you're doing doesn't look good on my body. And the instructors are trained to give people permission to do whatever feels good on their body. So just keeping that habit going, keeping that at the forefront to make the whole experience accessible.
One thing I want to speak to on that, two things. First of all, you're 100% right. We will never, hopefully, never not do all those things you just talked about. But one thing, sometimes people come to me and they talk about advanced classes. This is not about bodies, but I do want to mention this in this context. And, sometimes I get the feedback of like, we really need to consider, or y'all need to consider, it'll be outsiders, advanced classes. And that term actually really makes me mad because I'm just like, advanced to who? Like, what does that even mean? So, so one thing I know we will never do, and I can say this without a hesitation, is we will never level our classes. We will never do beginner, intermediate, advanced, because who's to say, and that's, kind of to your point, Emily, about like, this is just not how it works. So that's one commitment I can 1,000,000% make about us. And then the second that I want to share is that we're going to be doing more. And Shannon, about this, I've talked about it briefly, is doing more to be even more accessible to more folks. And this is an area that we're going to be launching adaptive classes next year, or later this year, rather, not next year. We're in next year. And it's something that I'm going to be bringing in outside experts, because I'm certainly not. And I'm so excited for what DivaDance will be able to do to amplify our mission, reach more people, and do so in a way that just feels so good to everybody. And what I love about our community is there's nobody that I can think of in our community that's going to see a person with disabilities come in and be like catty or turned off by it. Like, that's what I love about our community. There's no like weird whispering behind people. There's no like, Emily, what do you think about that? It's really special.
Oh, honestly, I love that you said that, because I have, from the moment I opened the doors of Jersey City, Hoboken, the biggest thing I tell my staff is kind of what I said, is you don't know what someone's dealing with in their body that day. And I have friends who I tell them, if you need to come and sit in a chair and just do the arm movements, I will make that happen for you. And so the fact that DivaDance as a whole is kind of taking a stance to be adaptive for all types of people, whether it be physical, whether it be, Shannon interpreting at her classes. That's incredible,
You're
first
gonna
off.
have to learn the Megan Thee Stallion. You're gonna have to get better at I need to see you doing all the things. So coming soon to a studio near you is Shannon interpreting,
No.
Cardi B drip or whatever. Womp.
Man, and I know like this much sign language. I met one of the members down from DC who has hearing impairment or is hard of hearing. And I knew like this much sign language. And my goal is actually for Slaycation this next year. I'm going to know this much more. That way I can have a little bit of a conversation. But like those little things make a huge difference. And being able to be a place for people to feel welcome and accepted when the greater bit of society makes it so hard for them
Yeah.
is really just an awesome, amazing thing, and why I fell in love with DivaDance in the first place.
Well, more to come, and we obviously will have a lot to learn. But I'm just so excited to take our mission and amplify that, and just help more people. So,
hey y'all, hey, Tadara here, your merch queen. This is your reminder to load up on all your DivaDance swag needs by going to DivaDanceShop.com. We have so many new cute things like the long sleeve tees, water bottle charms, and the super cute DivaDance dresses. Every order is packed with love. Members of our community can use code PODCAST for free shipping off of your next order of $75 or more.
So as we wrap, Shannon, what advice would you give to someone kind of navigating their own health journey in a world where there are so many conflicting messages?
I would say to trust your gut. You have made it this far, be your own self advocate. If a doctor or medical professional is not treating you compassionately or just not treating your issue that you're bringing to them at all, you have the right to go find another provider who will provide you with the health that you are seeking. You don't have to stick with that. You don't have to put up with subpar treatment because of the way your body is. And health is important. Mental health is important. All the different types of health, and just broadening your definition of what health can mean. Health, like I said before, does not equate weight. And, everyone just performs better when they're feeling joy, feeling happy, feeling healthy. And that's what we all want for everybody, right?
I think what you're saying, if I could sum it up, is that like define what health means to you and what joy means to you, and then achieve that, like whatever creates that for your own, based on your own unique needs and desires. That's, yeah, I completely agree. Emily, anything to add? What would you say to people? I mean, there are a lot of conflicting messages, even as like evolved as the world has become. I remember when I was growing up, there was a store called 579 with like size 5,
Yes.
size 7, size 9, and I was like, where's size 12? Like where? you know and so many conflicting messages. Emily, what would you say to someone navigating that?
Not to like pat myself on the back, but I feel like the 3 points that I kind of built my Slaycation info session around, really I've been trying to live by, and I think they're really awesome to keep in mind. And the first one is to be seen. Don't be afraid to like be perceived and take up space. You existing in the space is just as important as everyone else. Be heard. Say the things that you mean to say. Be careful with your language because it impacts yourself and everyone around you, but also advocate for yourself and don't be afraid to speak up. And then be unapologetic. You don't have to be sorry for who you are. You don't have to be sorry for asking for accommodations. You don't have to be sorry for having different needs than someone else. And I think if you can work towards those 3 things that sound so simple on the surface, it just like slowly starts making your life a little bit easier each time.
What you just said, man, I really absorbed that. And the whole thing about being unapologetic is also being unapologetic to yourself. Because there's
Yes.
sometimes where I'm like, I'll like be mad at myself because I like can't do a certain thing or whatever. And then like it's just our self-talk is so important. Our self-talk really matters. And sometimes even in my classes, I'll say like, okay, turn to the person next to you and say, you know, you're amazing. And then I'll usually also be like, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you're amazing. So our self-talk really matters. And obviously how we talk about ourselves. One thing that I've been really trying to work on is for many years, I would be like self-deprecating. I'd be like, well, I know I'm like not skinny. And like, one of our colleagues, she kind of fusses at me about it. She's like, you really need to talk better about yourself because you're beautiful, you're amazing, you're strong, you're a great dancer. And it's not that I don't feel those ways, but for some reason, it's like I have to just tell everybody, like, I get it. I'm a fat girl. I get it. Okay,
Yeah.
everybody. I know. I'm aware, you know? So what I've been trying to do is be like, why do I got to do all that? Just like own it. I love what you said. Be unapologetic about who you are. And if there's something about yourself that like you do want to be different or change, or you need to from from a literal like health or labs or whatever, you know, to avoid other complications later, then do what you need to do. So this has been so great. Thank you both so much. And I just adore you both. This was so fun. And I know that this will help our listeners within our community. And I just appreciate you both being so willing to come on and talk so openly. And thank you both for being on. Any final words, Shannon? Anything that you felt like I really want to say this thing?
I feel like I want to make sure that people are curating their feed with, you know, Instagram. We're on Instagram all the time. Curate your feed with diverse people. And there's a ton of dancers out there in diverse bodies. And, you know, curate that feed. And also be that I always post my class videos. Like I said, started dancing as an adult. I dance for fun. But I post my class videos all the time because I want to show other people that you can do this too. You can have fun too. And yeah, just curate that community to see what you want to see and see people like you.
That's a good one. By the way, Emily, that's how I really got to know you was your Instagram
Yeah.
XL dance pants. So
Yes.
I love it. Anything you want to kind of leave us with, Emily?
I guess I'll build off of that a little bit with Shannon and just encourage people to try and be that person for someone else. I mean, like I said, the whole reason I love talking about this so much and the reason I'm so excited to be here speaking about it is because I wish I had someone saying these things to me when I was, you know, 19, 20, 21, when I was like really in the thick of it. You know, I think that was like the worst of my mental health. And when I felt worse, if I had someone just saying some of these things, it would have made it a little easier. And so, just encouraging people to have these conversations, to talk about it. And because the more you talk about it, the better you'll feel about it as well. Sometimes if you say something enough, you start believing it, you know? And I just think if we can all hype each other up, that just helps us feel better about ourselves too, you know?
So great. Thank you both for being on, and so excited to continue the conversation. If folks listening, if you're not part of our Inspire and Build broadcast channel on Instagram, jump in there because we post some like little motivation things and feel good things. I did like a little oracle card drawing thing the other day. So jump in there. And as always, I just adore you both, and we'll see you really soon. Thank you.
Thank you.